Yeah, yeah, I totally agree with you there. We're just hitting our like hour mark, and I know we have a lot of people that are wanting to show up. So I guess I figure what we'll do is we'll probably wait a couple minutes, let everybody keep trickling in, and get in and get comfortable before we get started.
Sounds good.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe people are getting their lunch. We're getting some barbecue today. Super excited about it here in the Austin office. Um, I don't know if you guys are eating your lunches right now, but you're not eating barbecue.
The
Um,
question is, do we start doing call outs like on Peloton, they start calling people out on the leaderboard? I see so many names I recognize. I'm like, hey, we know them, we know them.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's right.
everyone.
Hello, everybody. And we do, I just want to point, I'll bring it up, a couple other times. You guys kind of know how this goes, but I want to make sure everybody knows we have lots of Concord people in the audience here to answer your questions, but please, I want to encourage everybody, all participants, those we know and those we don't, utilize the chat and utilize the QA features that we have. So the one, we know that you're here and we kind of know who's here and who we can interact with, but two, it's a great place to ask your questions. So, I'll have a little opportunity for us to send something. We're not getting started just quite yet, but I just want to let you guys know we have the chat. We have people here to answer your questions, so don't hesitate to go there, ask away. We'll start on and we'll focus on the intake form questions and topics related to that, but then we'll even move on to other questions at the very end if we have time. So I'm going to wait one more minute to get started. Um, you know what? Actually, let's see if the chat's working. I guess I want to direct you guys there just to put in something. If you guys don't mind, go to the chat. Oh, we're getting a notification that the chat is disabled, so we'll get on that here in a second. Maybe start thinking about this. Start thinking about we're approaching spring. I'm curious. One, where
Mhm.
you guys are located. Tell when the chat is enabled. We'll tell you when it's enabled, but let us know one, where you're located, and two, what do you have? Do you have a favorite flower? Do you have a favorite flower approaching springtime? I want to know it. Just something casual. Um, there we go. We see one at least coming from us as panelists.
I'm
There we go.
testing. There we
Okay.
go. It looks like it's working
All
now.
right. Thanks for letting us know that it was disabled. It's enabled. Everybody go there. We want to know where you're located and let us know your favorite flower. I'm going to go ahead and add mine actually here. Of course, I'm from Texas, so I love the blue bonnets. There we go. I think I misspelled it. That's my apologies. Um, Great. Tulips, that's my wife's favorite. Y'all, thanks for adding these. Not necessarily contract related, but stuff that is cool to know about you guys. So again, we're talking about intake form feature today, stuff that we're really excited to release to you guys, and also to get your feedback on. We have a product manager on the call. We have Zach who's using it and loving it. One of the goals of this is to show it to you and get you guys excited, but also to get your feedback. So definitely, guys, let us know kind of your thoughts about this. Let us know your questions, either in emails about your CSM, but let us know. And Zach, you were kind of saying that you're feeling some excitement about this feature. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. I've probably talked to 20 to 25 customers over the past few weeks, as we've had this in beta mode, kind of giving some initial showings and hearing those initial reactions, and overwhelmingly they've been very positive. I think it's something. A lot of comments I got were like, "Hey, this is something we felt Concord was missing for a long time," and I tend to agree with that a little bit. So I think it's something that everyone's excited about. I'm excited about it. So happy to show that to you today. Savon is on the call. He's our product manager over this specific feature. So if you have any issues with it, let him know directly. I'm just kidding. Savon's awesome. He's done an amazing job. But we will continue to iterate on this. So any feedback that you give us, hopefully you know this by now as Concord. We only build the product based on our customer feedback and what you're looking for. We don't build it just based on what we think is cool. So please come to us, give us that feedback, tell us what you want this to do or the improvements you want us to make, and we will definitely take all that feedback into account for sure.
Yep, yep, absolutely, absolutely. And Zach will provide, a great way to get in contact us. The chat is a great way as well, but we'll take all that for you. So a little timeline that you can expect from us here today. It's really simple, really short, really sweet. We're kind of already talking about this intro now. Here in a second, I'm going to pass it off to Zach to give us this live demo and to really dig into the actual product. And then what we'll do is we'll finish on what we're working on next. So I guess Zach, if you don't mind, maybe take it away and start telling us a little bit about this new exciting feature that we have for everybody.
Absolutely. Can I share my screen? That's always a question. Looks like we're good to go. Here we go. So I've got Concord pulled up on my screen now. Hopefully you all know what this looks like. If you don't, please reach out to myself or Quincy or other AE, and we're happy to sell Concord to you. But if you're already using Concord, which I think most of you are, that's awesome. This is Concord. So let me tell you some quick background behind this feature. Why did we build it? Why did people want it? What's the general idea behind it? So as you know, right now in Concord, before intake, you have a couple paths where you can actually create new documents. So let's say that you have a new vendor contract that somebody in your company wants someone in legal to review or someone in procurement to review. So the process right now today may be that they come in, they directly create that as a document in Concord, or maybe they send that to you via email and then you upload that into the system to begin working on the document, going through the approval process, negotiation, signature, etc. There wasn't really that first step built into the platform. And so that's really the idea behind these intake forms, is to have a place to start that process and to be able to gather all of those requests that are coming from around the organization. And there's a couple different use cases. So the one I just mentioned, maybe it's a vendor form, maybe you're signing up with a new vendor, or maybe it's an NDA that you need to sign, or maybe you're doing a new partnership with someone and so you want to kick off that, but you're actually getting the contract from the other person. So this is one way to bring that into the system. The other use case that we really hear a lot about is somebody needs a contract. They're not sure what template to use. They're not sure what to build. They just need someone in legal or procurement or operations to build a contract for them. And so they want to be able to submit that request, put all the information in, and then someone actually take that and create the contract based on that feedback. And so that's really the idea behind this intake form, is to have a central place to start those requests and then also manage those requests as they go through the entire process. So with that being said, let me go ahead and jump into the actual intake form. For those of you that are longtime Concord users, you probably have this full dropdown happening. You can create an intake request here. So that's one option. The other option is you can click on intake and you can actually go right into your intake form view. Now, there's going to be a lot of questions about who's receiving these forms, who gets the forms routed to them, etc. And I'll go over the permissions at the end, but just know that these are all the intake forms that you as a user in Concord have access to. Whether you've created them or someone else has created them and shared them with you or requested them from you, that's what this view is. Right now, we can see the title, the intake status, the stage of the actual document that gets created from the form, who it's been assigned to, who requested it, created, due date, etc. So let's say that somebody wants to create a new intake request in the system. Very simple. They simply click on intake request. Let's say that I have a new vendor that I want to bring into my company. Maybe I'm buying a new piece of software, and so I need to have this contract reviewed for legal software. Great. I'm then going to put a due date in here. So, everyone always wants this done today, right? But we'll go ahead and give them until Tuesday to have the review completed. I'm going to come in here and make a nice note for our legal team members that I have lots of time in the world. And then I'm going to go ahead and attach that document here, and I'll go ahead and submit my request. That's going to take you into your contract intake screen. And you're going to be able to see a couple different fields here. So who created the document, when it's due, the creation date of the document, the status, who it's been assigned to, which hasn't been assigned to anyone yet, the attachments, and then also the description. Now from here, as soon as that gets submitted into the system, those people that you have designated to receive the request will receive an email letting know, okay, this request has now been submitted. It's also going to show up in your Concord instance as well, of course. And you'll see that as a new task in your intake section. So if I'm the person that's receiving the request, I'm going to come in and I'm going to assign it to somebody. I could assign it to myself. I could assign it to somebody else on my team. whoever I want this request to go to. In this case, I'll go ahead and take care of it myself. You can also comment on this. So if you do want to ask questions, maybe you need more information about this specific request, maybe there's other documents or forms that you need, whatever, you can go ahead and ask the question here, and that comment will be posted via email and in the request itself also. Now, the other thing that I can do is accept this. I've now got all the information I need. I feel like I'm ready to move on to the next stage, which is document creation. And in this case, I actually want to take the document that was submitted. There's going to be one tweak to this area, so we'll kind of just skip through this. But basically, you're going to take the document that was submitted and you're going to upload that into the system, just like this. I'm going to go into live doc mode. Obviously, you could go into Word mode if you prefer to use that, the live document mode, so I can make edits and changes in Concord. And then I'm going to go ahead and just create the document in the system. Now, once I create this document in Concord, there is a brand new field that's happening in the summary sheet, which is the intake request link. So this is an actual link to the intake request. I can see when that was submitted. And if I click on see details, it'll take me back into that intake request screen that we saw before. There is some new information there though. We now have the document that has been linked or generated, and it's a link to that document in the system. And then we also have the status of the document itself. So as that document moves in from draft to review to signature pending to signed, those statuses will update here in the intake request. So in this quick view, it's very easy for you to see exactly the status of all your documents, which ones are still pending, which ones have been finalized. So you can see that here in the system. So going back into my document itself, I'm going to go through the normal negotiation and signature process approvals. Whatever your internal processes are with Concord, you can go ahead and just go through that normal process here, get that completed, and that'll update the status like I said before. Now, the other use case would be instead of doing third-party paper, we don't actually have a contract that needs to be submitted. We need a contract to be created from scratch. So I'm going to run through this one real quick, and then I'm going to pause for questions, and we'll go through all the questions that you have. So in this case, I need a new sales contract for a customer, whatever. This is probably not a real request you'll get because they'll probably do this other ways, but they need some sort of contract, or they need something from the legal procurement team, whoever. So they're going to come in, they're going to submit their due date, they're going to fill out all the details here. And then instead of attaching or adding any document, they're just going to submit that. So in this case, pretty much the same process. We're going to assign it. We're going to accept the request, and then we're going to create a document. But now instead of using, uploading that third-party paper or that contract from outside the tool, we're just going to go ahead and start from a template, and we're going to build a document inside of Concord. So very similar flow in the system as far as what you're doing. It just depends on if you're working off of paper from outside the system or if you're working off an existing template in the platform. I'm sure there's a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Blake, what do we got in chat? What are some of the questions?
So we had one actually that was sent to the host, but I think it's a good one for all people to ask. Essentially, what they're asking is like, who is available to use the intake forms? Like, for example, like non-users. So could you tell us who can use the intake form?
Absolutely. So currently the intake forms are available for any viewer seat that's in the system. That being said, not all Concord subscriptions have free viewer seats. Some of them do, some of them don't. What I would recommend is to do a quick account assessment with myself or one of your CSMs. So feel free to reach out to myself. Feel free to reach out to your CSM, Blake, Vanessa, or Ray. Those are the names of all of our CSMs. So if that's not your CSM in your mind, then you have a different CSM. We can help you with that. But I'll give you some information about how to reach out. But we will need to do a quick assessment just to make sure that everybody that needs to be able to create an intake form can. But the idea right now is anybody who's a viewer in the system can actually create an intake request.
Great. Thank you for that.
Viewer or above, I should say, not just viewers, viewer or above. So anybody who's a licensed user in Concord or a viewer.
Yep. That's a good distinction. So please, guys, feel free. We don't have any other questions, so I have one that I'm going to ask. But if y'all have any others, like this is the time to ask them. We have plenty of people that are probably wondering the same thing. So please go to the chat, put in your questions. But Zach, I guess I have a question. If this is something that people want to try out for themselves, kind of play around with, is that something that is it available for them to do?
Absolutely. So everybody, cross our fingers, everybody should be able to start using this today. And the way that you start using it today is in your inbox in Concord, should have a pop-up that says that you can start a trial. There should also be the intake here with, it says new next to it, where you can come in and start trying that out. We are going to give all of our users a trial for this. Doesn't mean it's going to be included with your plan going forward, because this is part of our new plan tiers. But of course, we're happy to talk to you about that and figure out, if this can be part of your plan. But this will be a free trial for everybody who's a user in Concord, should have access to it.
Great. So I'm going to read this question aloud. I think I can maybe also summarize it, but here's what they're asking. So for the use case of contract drafting and reviewed with the invited users, is this access restricted to internal Concord users, or can users invite external users, i.e. third-party vendor? To me, what that sounds like is, in what part of the process can we include outside parties? That's kind of how I'm interpreting it. Zach, do you have an answer there, or?
Yeah, great question, Laird. Good talking to you again. I just talked to you, I think this week or last week. It was recently. As far as that goes, it is going to be internal only for now. We do have some plans to also make an external form where people outside of the organization, could submit something. That is not currently available in the platform. So as of right now, it is internal requests only. So you do have to be an internal user in Concord in order to use the feature.
Yep.
Great
And then
question.
once the document is generated and you have a contract ready to be executed, then you can invite all of your external parties, just like you normally use Concord.
Yep, absolutely. I'll just fly through a few other questions here. When will this be available? It's available today. It's already available. So you should be able to at least start the trial or test it out, or you may just have it as part of your plan, so it's in the system already. Is there an additional cost? Potentially. It depends on which plan you're on. We have some very, very old Concord plans where this is not going to be available. We're happy to talk to you about that. But for right now, we're getting everyone a trial so you can at least test it out. The next question we have is, will there be a point when the intake form can be customized? That's a great question, Linda. Absolutely. This is just V1 of the feature. So as you know, with software, with Concord, we work in sprints. We wanted to get out the first version so that people could start using it and testing it. Absolutely, we plan to improve this and to make it better. That's why Savan is on the call here, and the rest of our product team. So we are definitely planning to make it customizable and improve this going forward. Let's see what else we got here. Internal user review and editing to get the final draft is of higher importance for us currently. Okay, that's great feedback. So thank you for that. What are the advantages of using the intake form rather than just uploading a document? The advantage is that you have an actual intake process where you can track this information. So if I'm the head of legal and I have a legal team where I've got 4 or 5 lawyers working for me, where they have all these requests coming in, I can now very easily see these are all the requests that have been submitted. This is who's working on them. This is who I can assign them to. That assignment's a big piece of it. And then I can also see how long things are taking to get done. Are they meeting their deadlines, etc. So it just is kind of a central hub for task management for those intake requests. So it's something a lot of our customers asked for because they just felt like with documents only, they weren't able to easily assign things, to track the status of them, and to know where they were at in the process.
Yeah, Zach, some of the customers that I have, this like management process is a lot of time and it's a lot of like room for error, because not only are they like creating their documents, but then they go back to like a spreadsheet, right? Where they're saying, okay, a document's generated, let me add something to my Excel sheet and let me go back and forth. And so our hope here is that it saves, if this is you or if you see benefit in this, it's saving you time so that you don't have to leave Concord if you don't want to. It's all housed here because you're going to be in Concord at some point. So let us keep track of that data for you and allow help, for room for error and hopefully save you some time.
Absolutely. Let's get back to a few questions here. Questions are flying in. I love it. Keep them coming. So we talked about customizing fields, hopefully in the near future. Who's responsible to assign the tasks? That's a great question. I do want to jump into the permissions in just a second, which I will do next, but let me fire through a few of these other questions first. Which app are we using? I don't know if you're referring to which app we're building this with, but the app is Concord. Our development team has built all of this from scratch as far as intake goes. So this is all, our own product here that our awesome product team has created, our dev team. Are there, or do you plan to add reminders, alerts if deadline is approaching or no action has been taken for a certain period of time? That is a great question. I actually don't know the answer to that. Sivan, do you want to jump in? Do you have any feedback on that specific question?
So on the report part, this is for the moment. We cannot extract the data that are from this view. This is in our pipeline to be able to exploit those data from this view, but it will be most probably included in Q1.
Q1, you all heard that. That's awesome. Thank you. Can we pull reports on the turnaround times? I think that's probably similar, right, Sivan?
Yeah.
Yeah, something we're working on, not something that we currently have available. Yep.
This is a good one. So if a vendor uploads a vendor agreement or an agreement from a template, how do they incorporate that document into the intake request? For example, do they link the document, or can you just walk through what that process is like?
So if a user uploads a vendor agreement or an agreement from a template, how do they incorporate that document? So you're saying if they do it, if they upload the document before the intake request is created, is that what you're asking, Bobby? I think that's your question. Okay. I don't think we have a current process for that. Sivan, any ideas? So if a doc gets generated before the intake gets generated, is there a way to link it back? I'm going to say no, but Sivan, any updates?
No. Yeah, actually, it's not possible to link a document before a request has been submitted.
I think currently the idea is that the process starts with the intake request. I know, Bobby, we want to create process. I think the intake process, it is a lot of what you're looking for, where it's like you restrict people and you keep them in a certain path to help with your management of the contracts. So ideally, it starts at the intake process and you direct them to a template, or you direct them to a document to upload to be the body of the document. That's sort of the idea there. So it's almost like a reverse of the timeline there.
But that being said, I think this is another place for possible improvement for sure. So
Yep.
Thank you for that insight. I actually hadn't thought of that yet. So thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, great question, Lori. I don't understand the purpose of the feature versus uploading your document, adding signatures. Absolutely. So this feature is probably not going to be for everyone. Just to be honest with you, if the way that you're using Concord is simply upload a doc, send it out, get it signed, and you're kind of the owner of that document, that process, this feature is not really going to be helpful in that specific use case. Where this is helpful is when you have a larger group of users in Concord or a larger team using the system, and you have more of a contract review process that needs to happen, or you have those contract requests coming in for things that need to be built that haven't been built yet as far as contracts go. That's where this feature really is going to apply. So it's not going to be valuable for every single use case in the system. I would agree with that. So Laird said, so based on the last question, I think we should upload a template agreement into an intake question. Yeah, intake. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I think that's something that we'll take as feedback to the team. I agree with that. Excellent. Let me talk about permissions real quick. I think there's a lull in the questions here, so let me jump in really fast. Okay, Phyllis, great question. Is there a place to record notes on the status? The notes would just be where you can add them as comments here, but the comments go away as soon as the doc's created, right, Sivan? That's actually a good point.
Yeah.
So as soon as a document gets created, the idea is you're going to then be using the discussion panel of the document to actually do your back and forth discussion. There is not a place to put notes in once that has happened. So everything before that has happened, you can put them into this comment section, and that's where you can put your notes here. But once the document gets generated or created, then that would happen in the document itself. Okay, one more here, Mary. For us, it will be invaluable in order to determine dollar amount of contract and order characteristics in order to get on the correct workflow. Yeah, absolutely. So the plan is to be able to have those additional fields for things like dollar amount, department submitting requests, and be able to even take that request and decide who that should go to, who that should map to. So there's a lot of additional things that we're looking to do there for sure. June, do the comments show up anywhere they can be seen by all the users? They are just on the actual intake requests themselves for any of the comments added to the intake request. So they're only going to show up here. If you have access to the intake request, you'll see them. Otherwise, you wouldn't see those in the system. Jess, I agree with that. Absolutely. That's great feedback for the product team about being able to use the intake request to generate more than one document. Absolutely. I think that's some good feedback. Let's quickly talk about the permissions really quick here, and feel free to keep putting your questions in for sure. So the way that we have thought about the permissions are kind of twofold. Number one, it's who should receive the request. And so we have these two different new permissions in the roles that we have just added. So the first one is submit and edit user's own intake request. So if this is checked on, somebody can request an intake request and they can edit that intake request if they mess something up or they need to change something. So that's the first one. The second one is who should actually be reviewing and editing the intake request. So the user this user, if it's turned on, can view, edit, assign, and create documents for any intake request. So these are the people actually doing the reviewing, your legal team members, your procurement team members, your operations teams, your leadership teams. That's who's going to be receiving the requests. So that's where you would turn that on if you want to receive them. The other place that we've made some changes is to the notifications themselves. So right now, under the intake request notification, we do have quite a few different options here. So we have the request assigned, we have the new comment, request submitted, and then also the status changes. So those are the emails that are going to be going out. Right now, they are all individual emails. They're not part of the daily digest. So those are going to be going out from the system each day. Or individually, I should say. What do we got? I'm behind.
And actually, Zach, if we need to move on, what I did say is we're going to work on responding in the chat here. But another tool we might use, we might reach out individually. We want to keep an eye on people's time as well. But I do have an important one here that maybe you want to answer, I guess. Since you're talking about roles, we have a question. Are you doing that based on roles or rather than the individual users? The answer to that is yes, right? I mean, we are because he's showing you it is based on roles, but you can set up custom roles. If you need help with that, the CSMs are here to set up your custom roles and you can provide them for individual users. But yeah, it is all based on roles.
And Savan, just to confirm, as it is for all admins, so if you're an administrator, it's going to be turned on by default for you. Is that correct, Savan?
Yeah, if you are an administrator or a team manager. Both roles have they all have the permissions by default. And then if you would like to create a custom role, you can obviously assign any type of permissions to any custom roles.
Awesome. So the question of who can see all the intake submissions, anybody who has this review and edit all intake requests turned on. So that's going to be your admins, your team managers, and anyone else you give that permission to. That's who's able to see all of the requests in the system. Yeah, great question.
And now that we're here as well, Savan, this is a good one, I think, for us to record because currently we cannot tag users in the notes, but I'm glad that it was a call out here that's something that you guys are looking for. So currently not available, but definitely great for our product team to hear about that. Yep.
Absolutely. We have a few other questions. Yep, I agree. Thank you and just so you all know, we're going to copy this entire chat and our product team will review all of your feedback and questions. So thank you for putting it in here. Even if it doesn't have to do with this feature, which some of these questions are about other things. So thank you for that. Someone asked, is there going to be a guide or workflow be created to share with us? Absolutely. So this feature just came out yesterday officially to our customer base. This is our first public webinar that we've done with this, you know, in the entire company. We will absolutely be releasing some support articles. I'm sure we'll have a video that kind of covers how this all works. We already have it, so I know we will. And then Blake, any other things that you think we'll be sending out?
No, I mean, yeah, I mean, you have the pop-up, you have the availability to try it yourself too. We'll also get a notification there. I guess, Zach, if you want, I can take over and I can share that kind of last panel to tell them a good way that they can reach out as well. And we have these recorded, and our marketing team does a really great job at making sure that these are available as well. So even if you just need to reference back to this call, that will also be available to you for you here. But I kind of skipped a slide here. I want Zach to wrap it up for you here. If you want to stay on, we'll be here to tell you kind of about what we're doing in the roadmap. But I guess, Zach, do you want to just kind of wrap up the call for the time's sake?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, please reach out to us. There's going to be a lot of questions, I'm sure, as you start using it, a lot of feedback. So please reach out to, you can just send emails directly to support@concord.app. Most of you have my email address. Most of you have your CSM's email address. You can reach out to us directly as well. And we'll be taking all that feedback. So yeah, reach out to us. The easiest way, if you don't know any of our emails, is just send it to support@concord.app, because we all get those emails. And then we're happy to work with you from there. We can do a quick plan assessment. We can give you one-on-one training, you know, for the specific feature and help you set it up to your specific needs. So happy to do that.
That's right. All right. So thanks, guys. Like I said, we're going to stay on just a little bit longer. We have something that we want to, you know, we just want to tell you a little bit about the additional things that we have coming to get you guys excited. But for those of you that stayed to the time, thanks for your questions. Thanks for your time and your cooperation. If we didn't answer your questions, we will reach out to you and get you those answers. But again, thank you for your time. And now let's keep going. So let's talk about kind of this product roadmap. Really, this is the last slide that I have here that I just wanted to make sure to cover. We're talking about 2025, or at least the first half. We're talking about what we have coming in Q1 and then even Q2. Some really, really exciting things. Stuff that addresses some of the feature requests that are in the chat that we heard from. So let's start here with this intake form. It's what we're talking about today. It's here. It's available for you. Get excited, right? Next, we have some comments here that we're talking about editing documents. Guys, we have a Microsoft Word integration coming to Concord. I'm getting chills talking about it. This will help you with your document creation, your document execution. And yeah, reach out to us if you want to learn more. Let's talk about it. Let's do an account assessment, see how you can use it if you need it. If you guys are using AI, we're adding new fields. We actually just recently added the agreement category and document type. I'm going to move faster. I'm not going to cover all of these. I know deadlines. That's one of the most important pieces for all of you guys that use Concord, right? The thing that kind of like separates document storage from document repository starts with deadlines for a lot of you guys. And we're going to increase the functionality there. That's where we're at with Q1. Next, if we look further out into Q2, we're improving these automations. We're trying to save you guys time. We're building the reporting and the tools on the front end, and then we're going to build out AI tools to help you do things quicker and faster. So that's what a lot of these things are: improving AI reporting and analytics, increase the searching, right? The ability to allow you to search for new and just, you know, better things that support your business use case. And then finally, and I know one that's really exciting, is we're going to tackle at mentioning. So if we talk about in the notes, right, the thing that I said, hey, Savan, you know, listen up because we have customers requesting it, guys. We want to bring at mentioning for you. We know it's a long time coming and we're excited to get it for you. So for those of you that did stay, thanks for listening to us here, you know, kind of talk about what's coming. But really, again, thanks for your time. Thanks for the questions. And thanks for getting excited about the stuff that we work really hard on. We were building things that we believe in, but we're really trying to build things that you're asking for. So your excitement is valuable and your feedback is even more so valuable. So please try our tool out. Let us know what you think, and then reach out to us at support@concord.app if you want to learn more. So thanks, y'all. I hope you have a great rest of your day.